Karen tried hosting an HOA party on my land, so I let all 10 buses in, then locked the gate. You ever have one of those moments where you realize, deep down, that people have completely forgotten what boundaries mean? Yeah, that's exactly how I felt the day I looked out my kitchen window and saw 10 charter buses lined up outside my private gate. Each one packed full of HOA members in pastel shirts, holding coolers, folding chairs, and "Welcome Summer Bash" banners. My land, was about to become their personal party ground. It all started 2 months before that day. I own 40 acres just outside the Willow Creek Estates subdivision. My grandfather bought it back in the 60s, long before there was an HOA in sight. I built my cabin there to escape the noise, away from nosy neighbors, barking dogs, and those endless community improvement meetings. My land was private, clearly fenced, clearly signed, and registered under my family trust. Then came Karen, the self-appointed president for life of the Willow Creek HOA. She had a way of turning the word neighbor into a curse. She'd been trying for years to annex my property into the HOA, claiming my driveway aesthetically interfered with the subdivision's harmony. I ignored her letters, her visits, even her threats to bring it up at the next board meeting. Until one morning, I got a letter taped to my gate. Greater than, notice, the Willow Creek HOA will be hosting its annual Summer Bash on June 18th at the Willow Creek Lakeside Recreation Area, formerly known as Mr. Lawson's Field. All members and guests welcome. Please ensure the main gate remains open for event staff. Formerly known as my field. They weren't asking, they were telling me. I called the sheriff, but the deputy just sighed and said, "Sir, unless they physically damage your property, there's not much we can do." Sounds like a civil dispute. Civil dispute, my ass. So, I decided to get creative. I spent the next week preparing. Cleared out the area by the lake. Fixed the gravel road. Even trimmed the hedges around the main gate so the buses could drive through without scratching their sides. Everything had to look inviting, comfortable. Because I wanted them to come. I wanted them all inside. When June 18th rolled around, I woke up early, brewed some coffee, and waited by my porch. By 9 a.m., I heard the first rumble of diesel engines. Then came the buses, big, shiny, white charters filled with excited faces, music blasting through the windows. HOA banners flapping proudly on their sides. Karen was in the first one, of course, standing in the aisle with a megaphone like she was leading a parade. She waved at me through the window with that fake smile that made my skin crawl. I raised my coffee cup in return. They poured in, one bus after another. Laughter, folding tables, speakers, kids running across the grass. They set up tents, grills, and decorations like it was some resort event. The irony was delicious. They didn't realize they'd just trespassed. By noon, the buses were parked deep inside my land, all lined up near the lake. Music thundered. Smells of barbecue filled the air. I waited until the last one rolled in, the last person stepped through the gate. Then, I quietly drove down in my old pickup and closed the gate. Locked it, thick steel chain, industrial padlock, the kind that could hold back a bear. Then I turned off my phone. For the next few hours, I sat on my porch, sipping tea, listening faintly to the echo of their party across the water. I imagined Karen's voice on the microphone, shouting rules, pretending to be in charge. I even smiled a bit. But around 5 p.m., the tone started to change. You could hear it from a mile away, the sudden panic. The laughter dying out, the sound of engines trying to start, confusion, then yelling. I grabbed my binoculars. Karen was pacing furiously near the buses, waving her arms, while a group of men tugged at the locked gate. They were trapped, 40 acres of private land, surrounded by woods, a good half-mile from the nearest road, and no cell service strong enough to make a call. I could almost hear her shrill voice echo across the lake. WHO locked this. WHO did this. And then it started raining. A thick, summer downpour rolled in out of nowhere. The tents collapsed. The grills hissed out. Mud turned the road into a swamp. People scrambled for shelter while Karen shouted orders like a ship captain in a storm. By the time night fell, they'd lit a few lanterns and small fires. You could see shadows moving, hear people arguing. The HOA Summer Bash had turned into Survivor, Willow Creek. At 8 p.m. sharp, I walked down the hill with a raincoat and a flashlight. Karen spotted me first. Her eyes widened like she'd seen a ghost. "Mr. Lawson, you locked us in. This is illegal." You're detaining us against our will. She shrieked. I looked around at the mess, muddy shoes, soaked banners, broken lawn chairs, and calmly said, actually, you're detaining yourselves. You entered private property without permission. This is trespassing. A few of them gasped. A man in a soaked polo shirt shouted, we thought this was community land. Community land, I laughed softly. Does this look like your HOA's playground? You people ignored the posted signs, the survey markers, and the fact that there's no mention of this field in your covenant map. Karen's face twisted. You can't just trap us here. I held up my phone. I've got cameras recording everything since you arrived. 10 buses, 200 trespassers. I can either call the sheriff and let them sort it out, or I can unlock the gate and let you all drive out. But either way, there's gonna be paperwork. For the first time, Karen went silent. You could see it sinking in, the embarrassment, the realization that she'd led her entire HOA into a legal disaster. Please, she said finally, her voice shaking. Just open the gate. We'll go. I looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. Sure, but first, every single one of you is signing this. I pulled out a clipboard wrapped in a plastic bag, waiver forms, printed and ready. Each one acknowledged that they had entered private property without permission and agreed not to pursue legal action or step foot on my land again. It took an hour for them to all sign. Karen's signature was the last one. When I finally unlocked the gate, the buses rolled out one by one, mud slicked, headlights dim, passengers silent. No music, no laughter, just shame. Karen didn't even look at me as she passed. She just stared straight ahead, drenched and defeated. The next day, the sheriff's office called. Apparently, Karen had tried to report me for illegal confinement. But once they reviewed the video footage and the signed waivers, the deputy chuckled and said, looks like they locked themselves in, Mr. Lawson. A week later, I received a letter from the HOA. It was short, bitter, and clearly written by Karen herself. Greater than, the Willow Creek HOA will no longer attempt to utilize your property for community events. We sincerely apologize for the misunderstanding. I framed it, and every June since, when the sound of party music drifts faintly from the other side of the fence, I pour myself a drink, sit on the porch, and look out over that same field, quiet, peaceful, mine. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't loud. It's the sound of your gate clicking shut and staying that way.